Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us, and welcome to Pragmatic Talks by Pragmatic Leaders. So, today we have Ujjaini with us, and we are going to discuss the things around design for responsive AI. So, Ujjaini has already joined us, but before moving ahead, I would like to give you a little brief about her journey so far. So, she is currently working as a senior product consultant at EY. EY is a global leader in capital markets, and in the past, she has worked with various brands, including General Assembly. And she has 10 plus years of experience in user experience designing along with insight driven brand positioning. So let's start the session, and welcome Ujjaini. I would like you to take the session forward from here and give a little brief about you.
Thanks, Piyush. Hi, everyone. I would like to start off by thanking Pragmatic Leaders for presenting me with this opportunity to speak before you. Um, just to give you a little background about myself, I have spent half of my career in advertising, creating some big brands. I have managed clients like Unilever's, Sara Lee, Diageo. I have also spent the next half of my career working on some very exciting UX design projects for startups and large firms alike, like Thomson Reuters. And currently, I am a senior UX designer with Ernst& Young. Um, I'm a keen observer of technology, and currently I'm working on some AI-based products for some of the large companies. Uh, some of them are working very deeply into VR and AR. So these are some of the work that I'm doing right now. And today I wanted to share some of my findings. So let's begin with what's AI. AI, or artificial intelligence in simple terms, is basically training a machine to act like a human. Or rather, so is it okay if I switch off the camera?
Yes, it's
That's
okay.
probably, yeah, I can start the presentation. So let's begin with what's AI. AI, or artificial intelligence in simple terms, is basically training a machine to act in a way as if a human is performing a task, but then without really doing so, because it is a machine. So now every machine needs a voice and a personality, because we humans are extremely comfortable interacting with another human, or somebody who has a human personality. And we engage much more comfortably, we engage more and more with them. So that's very important, that if we're interacting even with a machine, it has that personality. But before we begin all of that, I would like to start off with the 10 milestones in the history of AI. In 1950, the first advancement in the field was made by Alan Turing, a British mathematician who's also known as the founding father of artificial intelligence. It is said if a machine could carry on a conversation that could not be differentiated from that of a human, then basically the machine is thinking. In 1956, AI emerged as a field in computer science. The term was coined in the Dartmouth Conference. In 74 to 80, nothing much was happening really. AI had gone down, and several reports criticized AI about the disadvantages of AI, and it's not really a good thing. So government stopped spending on this in this field. Between 80 to 87, it was revived again. The British government started funding AI again to compete with the efforts made by the Japanese. And one of the first popular AI film at that time was The Terminator, which basically showed war between machines and humans. From 87 to 93, again, there was a lull. But then in 97, the field picked up again as IBM's Deep Blue computer had defeated the world reigning champion in chess, Garry Kasparov. In 2001, Steven Spielberg released Artificial Intelligence, which was a tech noir drama on a robotic boy who dreamt to be a human. In 2011, IBM's Watson, which is a huge deal right now, won Jeopardy, an American TV quiz show, beating the former champions Brad Rutter and Ken Jennings. In October, Apple introduced Siri, whom we all know, an intelligent personal assistant on its iPhone 4S. And in 2012, Google launched its own version of Siri known as Google Now, which we are very familiar with. And in 2014, Amazon Echo was introduced. So now let's touch back on what we were talking about earlier. What does UX really do to AI? Or more importantly, why is UX even needed in AI? Now, we touched upon this earlier when I said that UX lends voice and personality to a machine in order to humanize it. When a user uses an AI product, it needs to be seamless, it needs to be communicable, and easily adjustable to the user's needs. This concept has been named as the anticipatory design, and it was coined by Aaron Shapiro, who is the CEO of Huge. He says that anticipatory design is a principle that moves around learning, predicting, and anticipating. In this design principle, we study how a product learns, adjusts, and then anticipates on the basis of the given data. Now, let's dive a little into that. What does that even mean, that whole concept of anticipatory designing? The process of user experience can be broadly broken up in 4 parts. First, we research, then we analyze the data, then we design the product, and then we test whether the product turned out right. So, in the first stage, we spend time understanding the user that we're designing this product for. Also, collect as much data as possible for future use in order to make suitable modifications and customizations to this product. We talk to probable users, sometimes observe them or look at relevant data to completely understand whom we are designing for. In the second stage, we go through all this data that we have collected so far and we analyze how to use them. So we basically plan during this stage about the design that's going to work best before even moving on to the design phase. We go through endless data and pick and choose only what is relevant and then extract the essence to form a design. Third stage is to design the actual product. We figure a way it could interact with the user. We map the different possibilities that a user would interact with this product and design the responses accordingly. And in the final stage, we test the product. Now, in the user experience world, this testing can happen at different points of time because every product is different. So sometimes it can be just a sketch on a paper and we want to test it then and there. It can also depend on the cost of really producing a product. Sometimes developing a product can be really expensive. So you want to start testing it from the scratch. So then we test and then we figure out what this new set of users are thinking about it. It's usually done with another new sets of users whom we did not use for research because we want them to come from an unbiased point of view. So let's look at some examples who use this principle of designing. One of the example is Nest home cameras. Now, in our mind, it's just a camera that we fix in our homes, but that's not the amazing part of Nest home cameras. It tells if somebody is trying to enter the house, if someone is talking, if it has completely replaced baby monitors and CCTVs, because it sort of does it all. Just to take one example from real life, my dog walker who had just walked my dog for the first time actually walked into the home and she started exploring the house and we got a notification on Nest camera. And we could take reasonable action. We could call up the company and say that this person is happening. And they had no way of refusing because we had evidence. And it's all real time, right? We don't have to wait to get this recording or go somewhere or go through whole filing process or anything. So that made our life really simple at that point. Another example would be Netflix. Netflix is not a product that's streaming movies. Netflix is a product that creates personalized experiences. In your home, if you're say 3 people, there's a mother and the father and the child, it will actually allow you to create 3 different profiles for each of those members. And it will stream you only personalized shows depending on what you have preferred earlier from your start, from the day you have started, and other data that it's able to access offline. So it creates a personalized experience for all the members, honestly. If my favorite show is Game of Thrones, I do not want my 3-year-old daughter to watch that. I want my 3-year-old daughter to watch Dora. And when she logs in, that's what she watches. So it's a completely personalized experience. Netflix is also venturing into AR and VR these days, and the reason is to turn Netflix into an even better experience than just be a streaming company. Then we also have Google Home and Amazon Alexa, a totally different kind of AI experience. It's a voice assistant that can literally have a conversation with you. It can remind you to take your medicine, sing your baby a lullaby, and help you cook your favorite dish by providing you with step-by-step instructions. You can ask Google the weather before when you're getting dressed to work, so you can dress accordingly. And just before you're about to leave, she'll ask you to hurry up because the traffic is really becoming intense in your route that you usually follow. So it is actually a very, very personalized assistant. Similarly, you have iRobot, where a little machine goes around your house picking up all the dust and only reaches out to you if it gets stuck. If the trash bin is full or runs out of battery, it lets you know. A very personalized experience again. Then we have Tesla, a completely different beast. You can interact with your car and just make it operate with functions like auto drive. Though recently, this feature has also presented to us with the perils of technology growing too fast that you cannot really keep up with the security check. So these are all different kind of products. What is common between all of these are that they are all backed by machines designed to respond and interact with humans. And this whole process of designing comes under user experience designing. Now let's see, why should we really user experience or use user experience designing for an artificial intelligence backed product? First reason is we are addressing real human needs. I need to remember to take my medicine, my vitamin D, every Sunday at 9 p.m. I'm sharing that with Alexa. So I say, Alexa, I need to remember to take my vitamin D every Sunday at 9 p.m. Alexa responds and says, sure, would you like me to set a reminder? I said, yeah. And Alexa says, okay, I have set a reminder to take vitamin D at 9 p.m. every Sunday. And it's basically reconfirming with you. And it is a real need, and Alexa is present, and I can ask Alexa for help. Similarly, the second reason would be guiding the human intelligence. Uh, when you're sitting in a let's say a car which has auto drive feature, it's very important to guide us, and the reason is it's very easy for us to leave the wheels and say that, okay, there's a very, very smart machine sitting behind this car managing it, and I don't need to monitor anything anymore. And what happens is you're increasing the chances of some fatal, very, very fatal mishaps, especially a car like Tesla, uh, which runs very, very at a very high speed. So it is very important to give constant human feedback, constantly tell the human to be alert, to keep holding the wheels, to keep an eye on the road, because you cannot just trust a machine and go back and relax, basically. So it's very important to keep guiding the human intelligence. I'm not saying that a human is not intelligent. A human has created artificial intelligence, so of course they are. But a human does not know, who has not designed the product, how the product really works and what the limitations are. So it's very important to be honest. It's very important to give constant feedback and letting the human know what the limitations really are of this product. Last reason, I think, would be building trust. So let's say I have an iRobot and I'm sitting at work and I just switch it on, sitting over here. And there is no way for me to know this. Of course, I'm monitoring it in great detail with an SCAM, but there is no way for me to know that its bin is full, or there is a problem, or while it was going around in my house, it got stuck with a cord, or it is hanging from a cliff-like area. There's no way of knowing, but it lets me know. This product gives me instant feedback and says that it cannot do this cleaning job, because I do not go back home thinking that, okay, Roomba has done this work, because it hasn't. So it's very important to build that trust with the user, saying that, okay, you are constantly going to be informed about what this product is doing. We are not keeping in the dark. We are not uh, making you think something that hasn't happened. So honesty is very, very real over here. And before I finish, I would also like to talk about the reason why user experience is really required. And a good user experience makes an UX AI product extremely valuable. We have seen that. Reminder is a great example. Again, going back to Roomba, Roomba is a great example. And it's basically what they're doing is value adding to your life. And they're very useful. They're extremely usable. Though they come with manuals, you don't really need one. You can just figure it out with them. They're designed in a way that you can absolutely communicate with them and figure out how they're going to work, which also makes them accessible. They're absolutely desirable because they are definitely solving some problem. I mean, you would like to be told how your route is going to be easier if you leave now. They're findable. They're absolutely reachable. And not difficult to figure out, and they're definitely credible. You're not going to doubt if they say that currently the temperature is 77 Fahrenheit. When you're asking Google Home this question and it says that, okay, it's 77 Fahrenheit, you know that it has reached out to some very reliable sources and it has come from there. So that was a little presentation on how UX is definitely important and how UX designing really works for responsive AI. And before I conclude, I would like to thank you for your time and patience. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you would like to discuss something. So I think I'll pause the presentation here.
Question is from Suhas. What are
Mhm.
some resources for good product teardowns?
Um,
With respect to UX, he's asking.
there are multiple. There's designing for, there's material design book, which is extremely good. There is designing for UX. What I can do is, so when I send this PDF, I can send a list of some good reading material, and you might find that useful.
Yes, that will be good. I'll share it
Yes,
with
there's.
the audience. What is the roadmap for some interested in UX design, especially in India?
So this is an interesting question because I did not start with UX. When I started off, there was no UX, but my experience in, so these four areas that I just spoke about, the four processes. Some, if you're coming with some background in any of these, they are usually very helpful. I had some experience in research. I had experience in designing because I came from advertising. That was extremely helpful. I first got some experience when I was doing some work for Thomson Reuters. I got my first bout of experience in actually designing, actually going through this route, because this is also the process that we follow in advertising and any kind of product designing for that matter. There are some good courses. I did a course from General Assembly. That was really good. Um, there are a lot of online courses. You might want to go to udemy.com. They have a course. So there are these multiple resources, but what really would help is, it also depends on where you're starting off. If you are starting with some experience, if you have something in this area, that might be good. Learning applications like Sketch is wonderful because you in UX design you have to use a lot and lot and lot, and probably it can be the only software that you use, along with some of the Adobe products like Photoshop, Illustrator, and those kind of products. Yeah, so it really depends on where you are right now and how you want to start off.
Next, we have a question with from Shubham. Currently, what are you working on? So I think he has joined late
Um,
and he has missed the introduction.
yeah, so I'll talk about my introduction, but I cannot really tell you what exactly I'm working on, because a lot of the work that I do is confidential until it's released. But I'm currently working with Ernst& Young. I'm a senior UX designer with them, and I'm working for a large media company. They are venturing into some AR and VR backed products. There's nothing more that I can really share at this point of time, but it's a very interesting project, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Rohan has a question. What degree of importance would you place on UI UX when it is supposed to fare against functionality versus timelines?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by timeline? So
Rohan, can
when
you?
you're yeah, so when you're sorry, so when you're starting out a project, you're also figuring out the timeline that it's going to take. Um, Functionality has to be there depending on the product that you're designing. The product has to be functional unless there is an emotional benefit. There's usually a functional benefit and emotional benefit. In branding world, there used to be more importance to emotional benefit. In a place where we're designing product, there has to be a functionality. There's no compromise in that. Usually, we get started is we figure out the timeline. Um, we say that, okay, we are going to spend 4 weeks in research. We are going to spend 2 weeks in analyzing. We're going to spend another 4 weeks or 6 weeks in design. And then we are going to probably have a flexible testing time, which let's say 6 months or 4 months, or depending on the project really. So functionality has to be there. There's no compromise on that. Timeline we figure out accordingly.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Rohan. I
Hi.
just probably ask you the question. Hi, so I probably just ask you a question
Okay.
via type versus typing. That's more
Okay.
suitable. So my question actually was that, in an emerging startup, in a early stage
Yeah,
startup, what really happens is you are hell bent on releasing the MVP, correct?
I know.
And
Yeah.
and basically you want to do that product market fit and stuff like that.
Hmm.
What my question actually was is that, let's say you've launched the MVP and now you're taking the product from 0 to 1. All right.
Yeah.
And in that phase, you generally have a very short timeline to launch the
Hmm.
product. So
Hmm.
essentially, what engineers and people generally do is that they prioritize functionality
Hmm.
over and above the way it would be presented, which is UI UX. All right.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
question was, how do you prioritize the timelines? Whether you release a certain feature incomplete, or do you release it properly with a UI UX bundled scenario?
So this is a very variable situation. So a lot of one thing that a lot of startups do is they skip the research. I think it's extremely important, but a lot of startups do that. They completely skip
Yeah.
the research. They use data that's just widely available from experience and everything, and they start designing straight away. A lot of startups do not even test it. So they skip out the three parts of the whole process. It just goes straight to design and they release it. So in that case, if they're not
Correct.
testing, what they're doing is real-time test. You release the
Right.
product in the market and you see how people are reacting to it,
Respond.
and you keep developing that. I People do that all the time. I do not think that necessarily should be, but then there's no ideal world, right? So people do all sorts
Right.
of things. But ideally, there should be these four because they minimize the wastage of time at a later point. Because if you have proper data, you have looked at the data, and then you're starting to design, it's it's
Right.
it's just beneficial.
Right. All right. Thank you.
So we have next question from Anthony Levin. There is any scope for business analyst with UX skill?
Yeah, I think research and analysis is so. UX research is a very upcoming area, and I think there might, because this research is not just user interviews. It's also a lot of data analysis and then converting the data into design. So I'm not saying it's going to be exactly apple for apple kind of experience, but it can be relevant. It is possible that it's relevant.
Just hello.
Yeah.
Just to bring clarity to the question that I've asked there. Currently, I work in a smaller organization, which in which I gather requirements from the client, and I give a prototype using PowerPoints and Action RP at times. So, in what ways do you think I could, efficiently design a prototype, or scale up the analytic skill and deliver a good product? So,
I mean, it
how
really
could
depends on how interested are you in designing, but
okay.
creating prototypes, designing and creating prototypes is a very, very important part of UX designing.
Yes.
That might be something you find interesting, because there are a lot of prototyping applications that you can probably learn, and you can probably figure out if you're really interested in that. Flinto is a good example. There's InVision, which is a great, which is extremely simple and a very effective tool for prototyping. Definitely, if you know Sketch, it's going to help you immensely, like I said earlier. So these are the applications that's used. I am not even saying that these are the kind of applications for which you need to be an amazing graphic artist or something. They're very easy applications. If you're interested, you can probably just give it a go, probably one of the trial versions.
Can you share some resources for learning UX with data analytics?
Data analytics, I think I'll have to look that up. I cannot think of anything right now, but I can definitely share that with my PDF.
Sure. Next, we have a question from Priyanka. How AI will guide UX designer? How AI will guide UX design?
Okay, so what do you mean? So there are two ways UX and AI work together. There are products that UX designer use, which is backed by AI, and it's a very interesting area because an UX designer needs AI to design an AI product. So there are a lot of products that UX designer uses, which is backed by AI, to design an AI product. I don't know if I'm answering your question rightly, though. Is that what you're asking?
Hello, hi, this is me, Priyanka.
Hi, Priyanka.
Hi. What I mean to ask is like UX design have some frameworks, like how this process works and all.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in asking how AI will affect the UX framework, or will it be remain unaffected? Or like,
So UX is constant. It's a very agile space. It's changing constantly. Like I said, there are different ways. Even for, so if you're testing a product, there's 1,000 ways you can do it. You can do it when you're starting to draw a sketch to just releasing a product and finding out. There are different ways. What I'm trying to say is it's a very agile space. Of course, it's going to keep changing with artificial intelligence. Artificial
okay.
intelligence in itself is constantly changing. So yes, it is.
So in future, it might be also true that UX might affect the AI of the product.
It's possible. It is already doing that because it is definitely completely guiding the way it's interacting with a human, and that's giving it a completely different feel.
So, ma'am, can you suggest any product where this AI and UX is like working hand in hand?
All these examples are AI and UX that I just spoke about. I don't know if you were there during that part.
Sorry,
I
I
spoke
just
about.
attended. Sorry, I just attended the session little late, so I think I have missed that part.
Okay, so I spoke about Google Home and Alexa, for example.
Okay.
So you can literally have a conversation. So, for example, the example that I gave over here is when you're getting dressed, you basically ask Google Home, what is the temperature right now? So you know what you're going to wear. Now,
Okay.
all these things has to be designed by somebody. an AI-backed product is basically doing is, so this is how you design, right? You consider the different kind of responses.
You agree?
They can be yes or no, or there can be multiple responses. That's why research is important, because you need to know what these responses could be. And accordingly, you come back, you loop around one of the feedback. So if it says yes, then you go back around that, and that's how you form the whole tree. So
Okay.
you basically ask Google that what should I wear, and it tells you that it's 77 Fahrenheit, and you know that okay, I need to. This is how I need to dress when you're hot today. And then when you're getting dressed, Google tells you that there is traffic on your route, and you need to leave right now because the traffic is building up. So you immediately pick up your bag and you leave. So the whole thing had to be designed by. It sounds like it is a very very personalized AI experience, but it had to be designed by UX. So there is that teamwork going on.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Next, we have a question from Vishal. Still, pen and paper is good for prototyping, for product managers, or knowing tools like Beta CMQ, InVision, etc. is important.
You mean balsamic?
Yes, it's balsamic, sorry.
It's always good to know things. You never know. Your UX designer might go on a holiday suddenly, and you have to pick it up from there. Um, I've not been a product manager, but I've been a project manager in the past, and I had such similar experiences, and I had to literally pick it up from a place. So it's always good to know. It's always good to know uh, these uh, applications. Definitely.
So next question is from Suhas. I'm interested in product management and UI UX is one very important part of this. Any products or consumer apps that you would set as a benchmark in terms of their UX?
Study any of these examples that I spoke about. They are the best UX right now. Um, I mean, study Google Home. It has the best UX. The way it anticipates and learns from I just spoke about anticipatory design. You can also read up about anticipatory design if you're really interested in learning. It's a very interesting space. Actually, I think in my list of resources, I'm going to add that as well. It's a very interesting learning, and you'll also learn about a lot of examples over there. So I'll send that link along with this. No more questions?
Yes, there is a question from Shubham. I face a lot
Yep.
of problem in finding analysis and result from research done. Is there any source available for learning both doing smart research and then analyzing the data?
Honestly, when we do it, we do a very manual analysis of data. There are a lot of softwares that do it for you, depending on what kind of analysis. For example, if you're looking for website footfall, you can always go to Google Analytics. Google has lots of nice products for analytics. You'll have to do a little research depending on what works right for you. But there are tools, but I myself believe in the manual analysis much more. But yeah, there are a lot of resources to do that.
And here's one more question. How product analysis is different from market analysis?
They are two completely different things. A product analysis, a product would be basically analyzing the features and how a product is performing. And market, this is my understanding, market would be understanding the users who's using that product. So they are two different things. Product is a more isolated version of just looking at the product and analyzing how that works. And market is something completely different. It's the people who are using that product.
So I think that's all, and we can
Okay.
conclude the session now.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot to Jenny for joining us today. Insights
Thank
shared
you.
by you were very useful, and I hope every one of us have got answers to all our queries. And in case you have any queries, you can reach out to Jenny. Can you share your mail or your LinkedIn profile?
I shared my
in the
LinkedIn
chat
profile
section?
over here. So I'm going to send a
Okay, okay.
PDF and
Yes.
that will have this link. So it'll be easier to find me.
So before ending the session, I would like to give you all a brief about pragmatic leaders. We started this organization with the objective of building a new generation product managers and train them for jobs of future. And we have built an immersive product management bootcamp where along with the knowledge, you will build and ship a real product being paired up with our in-house development team. Also, we have recently launched our 8 specialization courses in product management. You can have a look at them. I am sharing the link of our website in chat section, and you can also check out our upcoming events over there. So we have recently launched our specialization program. So for this webinar attendees, we are giving exclusive 10% discounts. If you're interested, you can register your seats. And that's all from my side. And once again, thanks a lot to Jenny for joining us.